Starfield is unlike any game I've ever experienced. I've played titles from Bethesda before, like Skyrim and Fallout, but I've come nowhere near completing any of these games. In fact, I probably played like maybe 5 hours of Skyrim, and Fallout's probably even less than that. What drew me into Starfield was the interstellar backdrop of the game and the fact that players have total choice and freedom to essentially do whatever they want to progress their own story. Player choice was always presented front and center in this game, and that's something I really wanted to explore. Luckily for me, and luckily for you, this game dropped right into Game Pass, so the value of my Game Pass subscription has gotten even better since Starfield launched. I decided to purchase the Ultimate Edition of Starfield. I only had to pay an additional $30. The base game came with my Game Pass subscription, and we were ready to launch. Because of the Ultimate Package for Starfield, I was granted 5 days early access, and I jumped right into the game. So far, I'm about 10 hours into the game, and I have to say, what I've experienced so far, this has been the best game so far on the Xbox Series consoles. Of course, like any game, there are some things I don't like about the game, so for all intent and purposes for this video, we are going to be taking a look at Starfield, the good, the bad, and the honest. Let's get into this. All right, let's begin with the opening of the game. So I preload Starfield, I get it installed, no problems there. I have it installed on my Series S, the Series X, and my PC. So I load the game up, I create my character. Well, you don't essentially create your character right away. You start off the game and then the game leads you into the character creation. I spent some time doing that, and we're finally rolling through the opening of this game. Generally, when I'm creating a character in a game, I always like to go with the female protagonists. I feel like female protagonists are stronger characters in games, so I decided to go that route for Starfield. I gotta say, folks, the beginning of the game was very boring to me. You know, you engage some of the Crimson Fleet right in the beginning. You talk to this guy Barrett, you get a ship, or essentially you take his ship, and then you fly off and you meet Constellation. You end up becoming a member of Constellation, and you can start the main campaign from there. This whole process takes about, I don't know, it felt like a couple of hours at this point. So this side quest pops up, and I decide, you know what, let me get my feet wet with the game. Let's do this side quest, and then I'll jump into essentially the first main mission of the campaign. This was the worst side quest I've ever experienced in a game. Not that the writing was bad, not that the gameplay was bad, but what I had to do was just kind of tedious. It was monotonous, and it just was not fun whatsoever. Essentially, I was just rerouting power in some subterranean base or whatever. I forget even what it's called. So I'm running around flipping switches, and as I'm flipping these switches to reroute power, I just start exploring different rooms, and I start picking stuff up. That's what you do in these games, right? So all of a sudden I pick up something that I guess is illegal. Someone says I stole that. They're gonna let the authorities know, and I figure, whatever, let them know. All of a sudden, one of the underground cops sees me. They tell me to stand down, and of course, I don't do that. I decide to engage the police, and I'm not going down without a fight, okay? Some people, I mean, maybe they'll load a previous save. Oh, I didn't want to get caught. That's not how I play. I like to play a game. I like to see how it plays out. So I engage with the police, and they are a much higher level than me, and I gotta say, I did a pretty good job, you know, standing my ground and holding my own. I can only last for so long. They're chasing me through the streets. I get out of this subterranean, like, basement type city or whatever, basement type section of the city, and they're chasing me through the streets. I have like little to no health left, and finally they get me cornered, and they say you're gonna be arrested. So I take the arrest. Whatever, I guess I stole something, even though I didn't know I stole anything. I thought I was just picking stuff up. I get arrested, and then I get sent to the UC Vigilance, the UC Vigilance prison ship. So I'm on this ship and I'm about to be sentenced, and this guy approaches me and he says to me, you can either go to jail or you can go undercover for us and essentially investigate and take down the group of pirates, these space pirates known as the Crimson Fleet. Now, why am I telling you this story? I've never seen anything like this play out in a game. Here I am doing this dinky side quest. I'm just trying to get my feet wet with the game. And then all of a sudden I get arrested and I'm offered an ultimatum, essentially. Either you go undercover or you go to prison. And I wanted to see this quest line. So I said, yeah, I'll go undercover and I'll take down the Crimson Fleet, sure. Now it makes me think, if I were chose to go to prison, would I have locked out this quest? That is going undercover and taking out the Crimson Fleet. Would I have had an option to get this quest later on if I elected to go to prison instead of do this job for, the commander of the UC Vigilance? I haven't looked anything up online. I honestly don't know the answer to that question, and part of me doesn't want to know the answer, because I'll tell you why. I made a decision in this game, and I'm gonna deal with the ramifications of that decision. I don't know if Bethesda Softworks is known for developing these types of plots. I really have little to no experience with their games, but I have to say, something like this unraveling in a game is something I've never experienced before. And I've been gaming a long time, folks, okay? I've been gaming since I'm this big. I'll tell you right now, I've never experienced anything like that. And it was so refreshing to see. The game gives the player so much choice, so you can essentially make Starfield your own version of the game. Your own story, completely unique to you. And even though that side quest was really boring, something really magical came out of that. And I'm really glad I got to experience it. And I'm really glad I didn't, say the game was poo-poo after 5 or 6 hours of playing. All right, let's talk about the good things in this game. And there are a lot of good things, folks. There are a lot of good things in this game. Players have a complete freedom, as I've said earlier. You could play the main mission. You could play faction quests. You could do side activities. Okay, you could meet someone on the street and they can give you a quest. You could do whatever you want. You could play the game in any order you want. It's entirely up to you. Now, I've played games like this before, but nothing to this size of this game, the scope of this game. You could get in your starship and go from planet to planet if you want mining resources, if that's your thing. You could go from planet to planet and build outposts if you really want. I mean, I feel like there's something in it for everybody. There's, shipbuilding. There's outpost building. There's, first-person shooter mechanics. There's RPG elements, obviously. The choice is yours in Starfield, and this game, to truly complete this game, I feel like would take months. And that's what I'm looking for in this day and age. I'm looking for a game that if you're going to invest $70, because this game is $70, and if you get the Ultimate Edition, it's close to, I'm going to say $100. If you're going to invest that kind of money in these games nowadays, this is something you want to invest in. You're really getting your money's worth, and this game so far is really showcasing the power of the Xbox Series consoles. This game is what I'm looking for in this modern age of gaming. This is truly next gen to me. Essentially, Starfield is many campaigns in one. I'm doing the Crimson Fleet quest line. That's the one I stumbled upon. And I'm still in it. Like, I'm gonna see it through. I haven't done anything else. I figured I'd play this quest out. And honestly, this Crimson Fleet quest could be its own game. That's how deep it is. And then based upon things I've heard and things I've read, there's the, UC Vanguard quest line that's phenomenal. That could be its own game. There's the main campaign that I hear is phenomenal. Obviously, that's the core of the game. So if I'm investing my time and my money into this game, I'm playing all these individual games within the game. That's what I'm looking for. That's next gen. And Starfield is definitely delivering on that front. The writing in this game is superb. A wrong choice in a dialogue, in a conversation, can have serious ramifications on how your story plays out in the game. And if you make a bad decision, like say if you take somebody out and your crewmate doesn't like that, they'll leave you. They'll just bounce out, okay? Your choices affect relationships, and that can have a ripple effect on your overall, standing in the game of Starfield. And that's something I've never seen in a video game before. Now, sure, you could have, in other games, you could have dialogue with NPCs and, you could kind of make them angry, but ultimately you're getting to the same points. You're getting to the same result. It's just everybody has their own way of getting there, but you are getting to the same outcome of the conversation. In Starfield, there are multiple outcomes based upon the choices you make. And as a result of those outcomes, that's how the story is going to unfold. And not just the story, your story. Another really fantastic piece of the RPG elements in the game, okay, is during conversation, they have a persuasion minigame. Now, I haven't mastered the persuasion minigame by any means, but it's really fun to do. Essentially, there's a little bar at the bottom of the screen, and you have a certain number of spaces that you have to successfully persuade the NPC. But you could easily fail it, and if you fail the persuasion minigame, then the NPC is not going to do what you want them to do. They're going to realize that you're trying to play them, and that's going to have some consequences for your character. It's definitely a fun element in an RPG that I've never experienced. And if the persuasion prompt comes up, I always try to do it, because with great risk comes great reward. And it's just a really fun piece of the game. All right, let's talk about space combat. Space combat is done perfectly in this game. Let me talk about space for a quick second. When you're in space, you can almost see space as a backdrop. It almost looks artificial to a certain degree, but it doesn't look bad by any means. Ironically, you don't spend a lot of time in space. You would think a space game, you're going to be flying around in space a lot. Space is an element used in this game to just focus on the space combat, in my opinion. Now, the space combat, they nailed. You could either engage with combatants in either first-person or third-person views. The way you handle your ship with the different subsystems of the ship, you could reroute power to your engine. You could transfer power to your missiles, to your ballistics, to your lasers. There's a certain amount of power you have, and you could reallocate that power however you see fit, depending on the situation you're in. So if I'm engaging with a ship that is, it's ranked way higher than my ship, I'm probably going to want to reroute power to my shields to give myself a fighting chance. That's definitely an element I haven't come across in any kind of space game, and it's really fun to use. Whenever you engage in combat in space, there's definitely a certain level of strategy going into every encounter, because you have to take a look at that ship. You have to see if they're better than you or not, if they're ranked higher than you or not, or even if they're not, how many ships are you going to engage with? So all that being said, you have to kind of play the chess game of manipulating the systems of your starship to give you the best fighting chance. And that's really, really fun to do. Of course, as you upgrade your ship, you can get a targeting computer, I guess, or a targeting system where the camera zooms into the enemy ship, and you could select different parts of that ship to target to either disable it or completely take it out. If you disable the ship, you can board that ship, eliminate the crew, or, you know, have them join you, whatever you want to do, and then take their ship, and that ship becomes part of your fleet. And then from there, you can either sell it, scrap it for parts, upgrade your other ships. The choice is yours. So space combat, they definitely nailed. I love the subsystems used to manage your ship during combat. I know I mentioned the space backdrop. It kind of looks artificial, but it really doesn't bother me. But what really saves the backdrop of space is the lighting in this game. The lighting is incredible. Okay, if I'm playing this game on my Series X in 4K and I'm in space and I see the way the sun hits these planets and the way the moons of these planets orbit their planets, and these space stations, the way they orbit the planet, the lighting plays a big factor in space, and it's done really, really well. It's really, really beautiful to look at. All right, let's talk about the bad things in Starfield. The game really does a very poor job of the use of a mini-map when you're on the surface of planets. It's very frustrating. Like I get on, you know, I arrive on a planet, I'm in the spaceport. Let's take the city of New Atlantis for argument's sake. I land in the spaceport, I get out, I don't know where anything is. I'm running around, I need, you know, say if I need to fix my ship, or if I want to buy some new clothes because I like to look good, or if I want to get something to eat, I don't know, I want to increase my health a little bit. I don't know where anything is in this game, and that's a little frustrating. I don't know, maybe the devs took out a mini-map or didn't put a mini-map in to emphasize exploration to a certain degree. But there was one situation where I could have really used the mini-map, and I'll tell you a brief story. I was doing a mission for the Crimson Fleet faction quests, and I arrive out of hyperspace, and all of a sudden I'm in a space battle and my ship was in shambles. I was actually streaming this section of the game during an episode of DMG Live, and I was getting rocked, everybody, rocked. Every time I loaded in, these ships came right at me. There's probably 3 of them. I had just my shield. My hull damage was like a 10%. And they were all just shooting. I died within seconds. They were just engaging me. I died within seconds. I must have died about 30 times. No joke. And it's unfortunate because when you're streaming, you don't want to die 30 times in a row. So finally, I'm like, what do I do here? I got to get out of here. So I had to load a previous save, and I flew down to New Atlantis, and I'm like, I got to find some way to repair my ship. And I land in the spaceport, and I'm looking around all over the place. You know, people in the chat, they had no idea where to go. You know, people actually looking up online to try to figure out like where to go for me as I'm playing. It was a very funny moment, but I had no idea how to fix my ship. I'm like, I gotta find some kind of mechanic somewhere. So I ended up, as I was live, I Googled it real quick, like, how do I fix my ship in Starfield? You know, New Atlantis, you know, all those keywords you use, you know, to get the information you need. And the dude was standing right there, right next to the ship. He's like the ship service tech. And you can repair your ship for 1,000 credits. I needed to do that. I'm like, I need to repair right now. And sure enough, I found out that the service tech is the guy. You can upgrade your ship there. You can, you know, possibly buy a ship. You can fix your ship. He's the guy for ships. And the game doesn't tell you that. And that's just a little frustrating when you want to progress the story or progress a mission. I was essentially stuck in space combat, and the game doesn't tell you where things are that you might need in a difficult moment. Now, I'm sure if you jump into like some kind of help menu, you could figure it out, but who has time for help menus? I mean, I never go in the help menu. Maybe I should start, I don't know. Okay, let's talk about the third-person view, all right? You can either play in first person or third person. I wanted to give, I like third person. I wanted to give it a shot in this game, but it's too janky for me. The way your character moves and your use of cover, even where if you go to aim down sights where your where your crosshairs are. There's some kind of disconnect for me with this game. I can't play it as well in third person. It's too, like I said, it's too janky for me. It's a little jarring to me. But the first person view is where it's at. I have no problems there. So I generally prefer to play the game in first person. The only time I'll play the game in third person is if I'm in a big city, say if I'm in New Atlantis, and I'm running around. I'll jump to third person just to see more of the city and not have that narrow field of view in a first person viewpoint. But that's the only time I'll use third person, is if I'm in a wide open space. If I'm going into a building, or if I'm down a narrow alleyway, or even if I'm on my ship or what have you, I'll jump to first person view. Third person just doesn't work that well for me in this game, as of right now anyway, in my first impressions of the game. Okay, another bad thing I noticed in the game, when I started the Crimson Fleet storyline, I went to go talk to an NPC that I needed to talk to, and the game told me that she was, busy at the moment, she couldn't talk to you. As that was happening, some schmuck comes over to me, and he's like, hey, you owe me money, either you pay it or, we're gonna blow you away pretty much. And I'm thinking Starfield gives players choice, right? Player choice all the way. So I'm like, I'm not paying you anything, I'll engage with you. And sure enough, I did. And as I'm fighting this guy, I couldn't essentially shoot him. I couldn't put him down. And the girl who I was supposed to talk to, she started to engage in the firefight, and I couldn't put her down either. I'm going to shoot them. Nothing's happening. Nothing. I couldn't put them down, and I eventually died. I probably tried this maybe 3 or 4 times, and I couldn't put him down because I needed to talk to that girl to progress the Crimson Fleet storyline. Now, if the game gives you total freedom, okay, and it really does, don't get it twisted, folks. This game really does give players, it's the most freedom I've seen in any video game. Let me throw that out there. I don't feel encumbered in terms of freedom in any way, shape, or form in Starfield whatsoever, except for this one moment, and this is the only time that I've experienced this. I couldn't put her down because I needed to progress the quest, and essentially I needed to pay the guy whatever it was, 500 credits, 1,000 credits, or whatever money he wanted to collect from me, and it was just the game taking money from me. I didn't want to pay him, but I really had no choice in the matter. So that was a little disheartening because I didn't want to give up 1,000 credits. So yeah, does the game give the players large amounts of player choice? Sure, but it is limited in some ways. But then again, it's a video game, folks. Let's be real. I mean, there's got to be some limitations, right? So overall, not a big deal for me. It's not make or break by any means for the game. And I'll tell you what, I definitely wanted to continue the Crimson Fleet storyline, and if that's what I had to do to continue that faction quest, then that's what I'm going to do. Okay, the honest impressions of this game. There's one big thing that I need to talk about, and it might be an unpopular opinion, but it's my opinion, so I'm gonna share it. The NPCs and the way they look. I mean, if you're in conversation, all right, they have those dead eyes kind of look to them, okay? Where the animations are not bad by any means, okay? They're really not bad. But the way they look at you, they do look like robots to a certain degree. They look artificial. I feel like the top half of their head, that like nothing moves up here, okay? Kind of reminds me of an ex-girlfriend I used to have. Like nothing moves up here. Nothing moved in here either. I have news for you. But that's a little jarring to me, where just the face is moving here and there's nothing going on up here. That bothers me. What can I say? If you were to take a look at games like Gears of War, you take a look at games like Halo Infinite and cutscenes, you take a look at games like God of War, you take a look at games like Spider-Man, these games don't do that, okay? Now, I know Starfield is a very different kind of game. It's not a game like God of War. It's not a game like Gears of War. But you can't tell me from an aesthetic point of view that the facial animations definitely look better in those games than they do in Starfield. It is what it is. You know, some people argue that, oh, you know, you don't know what you're talking about because it's a very different kind of game. Well, I'll tell you what I would say to those people is the very casual player is going to see that and they're going to say it looks bad. A thing like that particularly doesn't bother me that much. I really don't care. I'm looking at Starfield from a completely different viewpoint. I'm looking at it from gameplay. But if you look at it from, say, a graphics point of view, or if you look at it from, you know, an aesthetics point of view, a game like God of War, a game like Gears of War, where the facial animations are just, you know, one with the game, Starfield doesn't do that. The casual player is going to say it looks like crap. Even someone who's looking to hate on the game is going to say it looks like crap. So don't kid yourself. It doesn't look that good. It doesn't look bad by any means. It's definitely the best a Bethesda game has ever looked, but it doesn't look as good as those games. I'm going to call it for what it is. And what I will say, my honest overall opinion of this game, the game is fantastic. Space combat's fantastic. The FPS elements of the game are fantastic. The storylines, forget about it. The storylines have been fantastic. It's definitely a must-play. If you are a Game Pass subscriber, download this game. It's worth your time. Every time I play this game, it gets better and better and better. When a game leaves me thinking about what's happened in the game and what decisions am I going to make to move forward, if the game leaves me thinking about those things after I'm done playing the game, that's how you know the game is a home run. If you're thinking about the game when you're not playing the game, that's a hell of a game, folks, and Starfield absolutely does that for its players. Thanks so much for watching to the end of this video. Of course, if you like what you see, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video.